And that's what innovation allows us to do, and that's what we're going to dig in and roll our sleeves up today. Because what made you successful yesterday will make you obsolete tomorrow. Go to the grocery store. It's one of those Tuesday nights. Have you had one of these? You've had 10 meetings, 15 customer calls, 5 presentations, so you leave the office way too late. Of course, you get stuck in all the traffic, but you have to go to the grocery store before you get home. So this is my Tuesday, and I'm thinking, all right, Tamara, you gotta go in, so just get the basics. Get chicken, eggs, vodka, and then I realize, oh yeah, I need a razor. And I find myself in front of this sea of razors. And I become paralyzed. I'm like, I don't know. Do I want a moisture strip and 2 blades? Do I want 3 blades and a pivot head? Do I want 1 blade and a titanium steel handle? I become so overwhelmed that after 10 minutes, I leave my vodka in the cart and I walk my hairy legs right out. Now, the next day, maybe to my husband's urging, I signed up for Dollar Shave Club. Now, every month, I get a razor delivered to my doorstep, like clockwork. So why did I do this? Because I don't want to think that hard about a razor. And neither did the hundreds of thousands of other people that have signed up for Dollar Shave Club over the years. And I had the privilege of interviewing Mike Dubin, who's the founder for our podcast, and he said, I asked him, I said, hey, how did you come up with this idea? Like, this was such a game changer. And he said, well, Tamara, I mean, I would go to these parties, or I'd talk to my friends, and I'd hear all these funny stories about how ridiculous we thought it was. 10 blades, 12 blades, 100 blades, like these high-tech commercials, and how frustrating it was to just get a shave. And he thought to himself, hey, I bet I could take the hassle out of this whole process. And that's how we created Dollar Shave Club. And he opened up a whole new marketplace because of it. But it's just one guy who was paying attention to all the stuff that was happening around him. And I think there's another lesson in here that, especially for us in the customer care world, that I want us really to think about. And that is avoiding what I call the ER trap, the trap, which is, I think, what this looks like. Better, stronger, faster, smoother. In today's crazy marketplace, better is not enough. To win, we have to be different. We have to be innovative, like Dollar Shave Club was. Now, we're going to dig in and we're going up our sleeves and we're going to talk about how to move at the speed of innovation. So we got to get out of that culture of presentation where ideas die and into that culture of experimentation. And here's the thing with this. It doesn't have to be hard, doesn't have to be big. It can take duct tape and straws to bring our ideas to life. So my suggestion for all of us in this room is the next time you have that idea, that could be an internal process improvement, a new product idea because you are connecting to the customers and you know what they want, what their challenges are and what their needs are. Or it could be a whole new idea in the marketplace or a way to do customer experience. Instead of going to the presentation, find one little corner where you can try it. One customer who's willing to have that conversation with you. One leader who says, yeah, tell you what, why don't we go get some scented markers and let's bring this to life and see what actually happens. And the beauty of it, we'll see when we bring our ideas to life, is that we start to actually see what works and what doesn't work. But we gotta move them past, we gotta bridge that chasm from paper to reality. So going to rearrange the box, let's look in front of us, look at those challenges, ideas, opportunities, change, and think about it a little bit differently. So I don't know about you guys, but I travel a lot and I don't love it. There's really not much about airports that I enjoy. And I was flying in and out of Dallas and I heard this really interesting story from them. So Dallas was struggling with really low customer service ratings, particularly when it came to baggage claim. Because I don't know about you guys, but how often, especially if you're going on vacation, you get off the plane, you get to baggage and you're like, it could be 2 minutes, and you're, God, where is my bag? And it's always the last one off, and it's totally beat up. So they said, hold on, we got to do something about this. We got to speed up the bags. So they did. They sped the whole system up. And then they did the customer service ratings again. And guess what happened this time? Nothing. They were still rock bottom. So then someone, instead of trying to think outside the box, said, hey, hold up. What if we rearrange the box? Instead of trying to speed up the bags, what if we slow down the people? And sure enough, they slowed down the people with shops and turns, and guess what happened to their customer service ratings? They went flying up. rearrange the box we already have. So the next time you're faced a challenge or an opportunity, a new way of doing something, think about, hey, how do I take what I already have and how do I think differently about it? Because that's something that we can all do. I was working for Johnson & Johnson. They called me and they said, Tamara, we want to reinvent baby care. I was like, oh, this is like the best exercise ever. So I assembled this incredible team, and for 6 months we played with cribs and toys, we checked out baby food, we talked to dads, which at that time was a first for J&J. And after 6 months of exploring the possibilities, my team came up with a range of ideas that I thought were going to totally change the marketplace. They were close in, using extra capacity. They were far out, totally new ideas, even included service stuff. And at the end of the 6 months, we all flew to headquarters for the big presentation. And we were shuffled into that conference room. It's the CEO's room. Do you know the one? It's got that big wood table that takes up most of the room, and it has those old pastel chairs, and all of the oil paintings on the wall are of CEOs past, and none of them are smiling at you. So we're standing up at the front of the room, and it's my client and his boss and the VP of this department and the head of that department, and my team is sharing the ideas, and I'm like a mama bear. I am beaming with pride. But with every idea, I hear this whispering to my right, and it's my client's boss. And with every presentation, he leans into my client and he says, didn't Joanne try that and it failed? Didn't another consultant give us that idea and we shelved it? Didn't R&D look into that and we decided not to do it? Didn't the competition try that once and it didn't work at that time? He squashed the life out of every idea. And that was, I think, the longest, angriest plane ride home back to Denver I've ever had. And I think I went through the 12 steps of rage. And actually, I think I just jumped to 7. And I started with my poor client, was like, oh, like, if he can't lead innovation work, he obviously should not be doing this job. And then I jumped over to his boss, which, by the way, the only thing I know about him, because I can't remember his name, is he had a mustache so big that it moved when he spoke. And he haunted my nightmares for months, just seeing this. But I moved over to Mr. Mustache and I said, well, obviously this guy should not be involved in innovation because he doesn't get it. And when I got off this plane, I'm gonna call J&J and I'm gonna tell them that they should fire him. And then I moved on to my poor team. Aw. And I was like, oh, obviously they snowed one over on me. I mean, obviously they knew that these were bad ideas and they convinced me, this is horrible. These are not A players. When I got off this plane, I'm gonna fire all of them. Fortunately for everybody, it was a long plane ride home. And by the time we landed in Denver, I realized who was really at fault. I'm sure you see it. It was me. I was at fault. I thought, because they had hired us, that they were gonna listen to our ideas. But here's the reality. My team and I had spent 6 months pushing the limits, testing new ideas, steeped in the marketplace. And then we shuffled into this conference room where people cold had nothing to do with it, and we expected them to get it. We expected them to see the brilliance in the idea. And how many times have we been in that meeting? Have we where we're in that meeting and we've got this brilliant idea and we've been thinking about it for months, maybe even years, and we've got this great presentation and the person on the other end's like, you're like, I don't get it. How do you not see how brilliant this idea is? So if you know Mustache Man out there, I want you to thank him for me, because he actually taught me a really valuable lesson. He taught me that there's a language to innovation, and we've got to speak it if we want to get buy-in from the people that matter. Let me show you a little bit about what I mean. Here's typically what we do. So let's say, I'll take this glass. So let's say we have this is an idea, and I come to you and I say, oh my gosh, you guys, I've got this idea. It's this water cup, and it knows what temperature you want, so it cools down when it's too hot and warms up when it's too cold, and it reads your thumbprint, so it can tell you what vitamins you need and then puts them in for you. What do you think? Okay, mostly silence, 2 cools, Exactly what happens, isn't it? And here's what our response is typically. For the 3 of you who said cool, I'm like, yes, let's go brainstorm. We totally get it. We're innovative. And the rest of you are just yes butters. And I'm going to ignore you because you obviously don't get it. But that's not really how it works, is it? And in fact, we need everybody because everybody innovates and everybody's a part of the process. But when we go to people with our ideas like this, what we're really doing is pushing our brilliance on them. We're saying, here it is. Now you take it. It's like a one-way tennis match, and the person on the other side is like, duck and weave, duck and weave. But we don't want that. We're forcing people into an up or down vote. You either love it or you hate it. But it's human nature to go first, isn't it? We tend to hate things first. So we're forcing people into this up or down vote. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to change our language, because when you change your language, you change your outcomes. So here's what I want you to do next time. The next time you have an idea that you want to bring forward, first of all, I want you to experiment. And here's the language I want you to use when you present the results of that experiment. I want you to go and say, hey guys, I have this idea. It's this water cup, cools down, heats up, has vitamins in it. So what would you do to strengthen the idea? One little shift. Now I've got your wheels turning. Oh, well, hey, Tamara, this is what I might do differently. It might not work that way, but you could think about this. What would you do to strengthen the idea? If you've got one of those ideas that goes up, right, to leadership, hey, here's my idea. What does this idea need to include to be viable to you? Let them tell you. We're doing too much work. Let's let the people along the journey with us on those ideas. And the last one and this one is a little bit of my favorite, and this is for the analytics, the people who poke holes in everything. And I know this because I am married to one. And every time I come home and I'm like, oh my God, babe, I have this amazing idea. And he's like, poof, 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 poof. I'm like, oh, okay. But here's what I learned with people like him, because we need him to make the idea better. If you're that person, I need you in this room to make my ideas better, to bring those ideas to life. So for him, I say, hey, here's my idea. What holes do you see, and how would you fill them? I beat him to the punch. But I engage him in the conversation. So how would you strengthen the idea? What makes it viable? What holes do you see, and how would you fill them? When we change our languages, we change our outcome.